Loan amounts from $25,000 minimum to a maximum of $2 million. And you only need a minimum personal credit score of a 550. These minority owned and women owned businesses are getting approved for hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have 250,000, 300,000, $500,000. These businesses are getting to the bag. Now, if you have less than perfect credit and you can't get approved for a commercial business loan, credit card, or line of credit, one of the best alternatives is to get a business loan from the casino. Yes, that's right. You could actually get business loans with proceeds that state governments set aside from revenue generated from casinos. So if you have a casino in your state, there's a high chance that the state government has allocated a portion of the casino's revenue to be reinvested into the community. So this could take the form of infrastructure projects, affordable housing, and even better yet, access to business loans and lines of credit. And this represents one of the biggest opportunities. As of 2022, dozens of states are already generating over $1 billion in gaming revenue. Las Vegas generated over $14.8 billion in 2022. And in today's video, I'm actually going to be giving you guys some examples of states where you could actually get access to these business loans that are funded through revenues generated from the casino. Now, why is this an untapped opportunity? Because as you can see, a lot of states are starting to legalize gambling, whether that's sports betting or even just actual casinos. So this map just shows 38 states that are live and legal when it comes to sports betting. So what does this mean? So as more states start to legalize different varieties of gambling, including sports betting, that means they're going to generate more revenue. So that means more revenue is going to be allocated to businesses to be able to get financing, to be able to start and scale businesses. Now, for those who want to take an even deeper dive, we're going to be breaking it down state by state on our Patreon. So you could join that for free and let me know in the comment section which states you want me to cover. But for today's video, I'm just giving you guys an example, and I'm just going to start in my home state of Maryland. So Maryland first had the Maryland Casino Business Investment Fund, and this was managed by Meridian Management Group, which we'll go into a little bit later. The mission of the Maryland Casino Business Investment Fund is to provide affordable and flexible financing to Maryland-based small minority women and veteran-owned businesses in order to build the recipient's capacity to create jobs, build wealth, and become a sustainable economic engine in its community. Now, they do have targeted areas, right? So the business must be located in the state to qualify, and 50% of investment funds must go to businesses located in designated zip codes surrounding the various casinos. The other 50% of investment funds can be available to business located anywhere else in Maryland. McBiff was established to provide financial assistance to Maryland businesses for working capital, the acquisition of equipment and owner-occupied real estate, business acquisitions, leasehold improvements, and managerial and technical assistance in the refinancing of existing debt. The Maryland Casino Business Investment Fund was started prior to additional casinos such as Maryland Live, Horseshoe Casino in Baltimore, as well as the MGM at National Harbor. Now, what a lot of people don't know, because when we think about casinos, Las Vegas is typically the default location where we're talking about some of the highest grossing casinos. But when you look outside of Las Vegas throughout the United States, the highest grossing casino outside of Las Vegas within the United States, as you can see right here, MGM National Harbor, which is located in Prince George's County, Maryland. Now, to give you a little bit of context, again, a lot of my local people probably understand this, but MGM National Harbor is located in the crosshairs of three really affluent areas, right? So you have Prince George's County, Maryland, which is the wealthiest predominantly Black county in the United States. Then you also have DC, which is right across the bridge. And then you have Northern Virginia, which a lot of people don't realize is an economic powerhouse. We're talking about Fairfax County and Loudoun County, which has one of the highest median household incomes in the nation. And then you have areas such as Arlington, you have Tysons Corner, McLean. These are areas where a lot of Fortune 500 companies are headquartered. So we're talking about employees who have these high six-figure paying jobs who have access to a casino within just a couple of miles. So the reason why the MGM National Harbor is one of the highest grossing is because it's just surrounded by affluence and a lot of high paying jobs. Now, I talked about McBiff, but the latest iteration is actually the Small Minority and Women-Owned Business Account Video Lottery Terminal Fund, VLT. And again, this was created with small business owners in mind. The state's Video Lottery Terminal, VLT funds, uses proceeds from the video lottery terminal slots to assist small minority and women-owned businesses located in targeted areas surrounding 6 Maryland casinos. That includes Maryland Live in Anne Arundel County, Hollywood Casino in Perryville and Cecil County. You have Rocky Gap in Allegheny County, Ocean Downs in Worcester County, Horseshoe Casino in Baltimore City, and National Harbor in Prince George's County. At least 50% of VLT allocations will be deployed to small minority and women-owned businesses located in the 6 targeted areas of the casino. The other 50% will be available to small minority and women-owned businesses located throughout Maryland. So there's eligible fund managers to oversee the distribution of the VLT funds. Now, there's basically a different fund manager based on what county that you're in. So you have FSC First, which I actually used to work at. Then you have, so FSC First is going to cover Prince George's County. So again, they're going to be located in the county where the largest pot of money from the VLT is coming from, which is MGM National Harbor, right? You have Anne Arundel County Economic Development Corporation. And again, this is where Maryland Live is at. Meridian Management Group, which is in Baltimore. And so right down the street is the Horseshoe Casino, which I believe is the 3rd or maybe the 4th highest grossing in the state of Maryland. And then you have these other counties as well. You have Baltimore County Economic Development Corp., Howard County Economic Authority, Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation. So each county has its own sort of management and allocation when it comes to funding, right? All right, so again, this is all public knowledge and information. These reports are published and submitted by the Maryland Department of Commerce, and it just lays out how these funds are actually dispersed and how they're actually deployed. So this right here shows a summary as of June 30th, 2023 for the Small Minority and Women-Owned Business Investment Account, VLT fund, and available funds as of fiscal year 24, $37,858,000. So that just gives you an idea of how much money is actually available. Now, again, this just breaks it down based off of the fund manager, how many loans they approve, what is the total amount approved, how much private sector dollars have been leveraged. And as you can see, and this is just one way you could kind of figure out which of these would be most ideal when it comes to how to get funding, right? So as you can see, Meridian Management Group by far has the largest amount of approved loans within the VLT fund, right? And then you also have, for example, Anne Arundel County Development. And again, they're next to, I think, Maryland Live, which is the 2nd highest grossing casino in the state. So it makes sense that these fund managers in these areas where the actual casino is located would probably have a higher allocation of available funds. And this just shows you exactly how much was actually approved and how much jobs were created, how much private sector dollars were actually leveraged. Now, again, this just breaks down how much of the funds were deployed to targeted areas. Now, again, targeted areas are, let's say, businesses that are located within a certain radius of the casino. So I believe it's maybe 5 to 10 miles. They actually have a graphic which kind of outlines the areas that are targeted. And so those businesses in those targeted areas are going to have a preference when it comes to how the funds are actually deployed. And again, 50% or more are allocated to the targeted areas. Then you have some of the non-targeted areas. And as you can see, minority and women-owned and veteran-owned businesses are getting the lion's share of these proceeds. Now, just going back, so this actually shows the distribution of the funds based off of the fund manager. And as you can see, Meridian Management Group, you also have FSC First in PG County, Maryland Capital Enterprises, Howard County Economic Development. You also have the Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation. And then you have Montgomery County Economic Development, which has the smallest share. And ironically, Montgomery County, out of all the counties in Maryland, is the wealthiest county when we're talking about the largest and the most amount of economic resources, right? So again, they're prioritizing these funds for the targeted area. Now, since Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County is where the casinos are primarily located in, they're going to get the lion's share when it comes to, or the businesses in those areas are going to get the lion's share of the funds. So I wanted to show you guys, to give you an example of how much money a lot of these businesses are getting approved for. So again, this is public information. They have the business name, the county, the approved amount, the date, the number of jobs created, the at-risk jobs that are saved, and then the status, or whether it's a non-minority, women-owned, minority, and so forth. But just look at some of these amounts: $250,000, $100,000. I mean, these companies are getting access to large loan amounts. And the thing about it is that the underwriting criteria to get approved for, let's say, $250,000, $310,000, $250,000 is going to be even more relaxed versus if you're going to these commercial banks, right? And so I just wanted to put this out here because I know a lot of people, say they can't get approved for, look at this, $400,000 approval, Baltimore County. A lot of people, say they can't get approved from commercial banks, but there's a lot of these types of programs where, as you can see, these companies are getting approved for a huge amount, $750,000, $250,000, a lot of six-figure loan amounts. Look at this, all of these businesses right here, $450,000, $100,000, $150,000, $100,000, 110, 100, 100, 250, $500,000, right? And another thing about these loans, a lot of these loans or even lines of credit are going to be below market rate. So right now, probably the best terms that you can get, let's say if you go to Truist, M&T Bank, one of these commercial banks, is probably prime plus 2%. So you're looking at about 10.5% on a business line of credit, whereas a lot of these programs, you'll get below market rate. So you might be paying, for example, 4% on a term loan that's out for 10 years or 8% on a business line of credit. So overall, you're going to get much more favorable terms. Now, are these applications instant approval? Absolutely not. Will you have to have paperwork? Absolutely. But again, you're going to get better terms, and the better financing terms, the better cost of capital that you can get is going to allow you to grow and scale your business. And another thing I wanted to throw out is that these funds can actually be used to purchase a business. And so that's another game changer. So let's say you look in one of these target areas where there are businesses for sale. You could literally use this program, the VLT fund program, to purchase an existing business. When we're just looking at all the amount of capital these businesses are getting approved for, I mean, you look at this one business right here, they got 4 different loans. And when you add this up, I mean, that looks like that's almost close to about $400,000, $500,000. Now, let's just go over Meridian Management Group. Now, they basically manage the Maryland State Small Business Credit Initiative, as well as other programs. Aside from the VLT program, they also administer the Maryland SSBCI funding. And again, they have loan amounts ranging from $25,000 up to $2 million. And they also have equity investments from $25K up to $1 million. Rates for term loans will be fixed between 2% and 7%. Rates for lines of credit will be fixed and generally be between 4% and 8%. So for loans, the minimum personal credit score of a 550 for time in business, generally businesses that have been operating for at least 2 years, startups will be considered if principals have significant industry experience or support. The other fund manager I wanted to go over was FSC First. And again, they are based out of Prince George's County. So they have SBA 504. They have a small business growth fund. I'm not going to get into the details of all of these. A lot of these are very specific, but as you can see right here, the VLT Small Business Flex Fund. Now, I was just giving you guys an example for the state of Maryland, but they have programs in other areas as well. So in New Jersey, they have what's called the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority, and this has been around since 1984. And in the same way, they allocate a certain percentage of funds to grants and loan opportunities for small business or even certain development projects. So they actually have an application where you could submit for either a grant or a loan. And again, for capital development, economic development, or even municipal development. As a lot of you guys know, Atlantic City is where a lot of casinos are. So again, they allocate a certain percentage of the revenue towards different initiatives within the state. Now, I know a lot of you guys put in the comment section which state you wanted me to cover when it comes to the state small business credit initiative, Pennsylvania being one of them. So I'll share this website, but again, this is a ton of information. There's different nuances based off what state you're in. Now, if there's a particular state that you want me to cover in terms of the state small business credit initiative, let me know in the comment section. I mean, I've already seen some: Florida, California, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio. So just let me know in the comment section. Maybe we'll pick 4 to 5 states at a time and cover the different programs. We'll go over the requirements, the contact information, where you can actually apply for these programs. So I just wanted to let you guys know about this. And another thing about a lot of these programs is that they're not really going to advertise this. So this is something you have to dig up and research. And there's a ton of great financial resources that just don't get a ton of coverage. And so we're going to be highlighting a lot of these different programs and showing you how you can get to the bag. That's all for today. Until next time, take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.